Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem, creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today is September 11th, 2024. It's been a blessing to be part of this community now for a very long time. 1,135 broadcasts. It is day 341 since October 7th. It is September 11th. For many of us, no matter where we find ourselves in the world, September 11th is a date we will remember forever. There are certain dates that last within our consciousness, within our psyche, traumatized within our bones. And so, what I want to do as we say good morning to each other is be extra gentle, be extra present. Some of us lost loved ones. All of us lost innocence. And the world lost a certain before and after. Let's make sure that we start the morning the way we do every single day. A constancy, the gift of dependability. Just knowing we'll be there is already a lot. So let's make sure that we say good morning to each other with whole hearts, even if they're broken. So, we're going to begin the way we always do by saying hi. It's good to see you, Linda, and Rosa, and Natalia, and Sharon, Barry, and Anya. It's good to see you. Hi, my love. Neshama's in the other room. Everybody send Neshama some love for me. Penny, thanks for keeping us on track. It's broadcast 1,135. Lydia and Jerry, Helen, Roberta and Amy, Linda and Deborah, Sunday and Arlene. It's good to see you. Hi, Marian. Ashley, Debbie, Arlene. It's good to see everybody. Kim, Marsha and Siona, Shari, good morning. Diane, hi Carl. Hi Arlene. Susie, it's good to see you. Hi Adele. Let's see who else is here on Instagram so I don't miss you. Adrian, hi my friend. It's good to see you. Hi Safta Shush. Okay. Cecile, hi. All right. Let's begin with a mindful breath, especially today. Let's take a breath, friends. Then we'll sing a blessing. Then we'll learn some Torah. Here we go. So good morning, everyone. It really is good to see you, especially today. It is broadcast 1,135. It is day 341 since October 7th. And friends, it is 23 years since 9/11. We remember all of these things. There are moments that shape our lives forever. Some of us remember exactly where we were when, and I can leave that sentence for you to fill in, because we've all lived different lifespans. There are different moments that meet all of us and shape us and change us. It is so important for us to give the gift of memory and honor and respect and testimony over and over and over. So, what I want to do is ask you, friends, while I share some Torah and my own personal memory, to please take the opportunity, using the comment section here on Facebook and here on Instagram, and share where you were. Share a blessing, perhaps, but begin by remembering. It's really important for our own healing and for telling history, which in a moment I will say how that connects to this week's Parsha. I myself was a senior rabbinical student in my 5th year at the Jewish Theological Seminary. All of the leaders of the seminary were off of Manhattan, off the island, and so when the attacks on the World Trade Center happened, and in Shanksville, and in Washington, D.C., when all the attacks happened, all of the leaders of JTS were off island, and so the senior rabbinical students suddenly were convening the community as if we knew anything. And we didn't know what to do, but we brought people together. And of course, we stood in disbelief. I remember when I heard exactly what happened, I had to leave class for a moment to repark my car because of alternate side of the street parking rules in Manhattan. It was a Tuesday morning. Beautiful blue sky. I looked down Broadway and it was a gorgeous day. And as I got to the elevator, a friend of mine named Ezra said, "A plane just hit the World Trade Center." And I couldn't believe him, and I got into my car and put on 1010 Wins because I was listening to the news in the car, and the second tower was hit. I stood in disbelief, and I looked down Broadway, but can't see all the way down, and Broadway has a significant turn. But I knew that no one was going to come checking where I parked my car. I ran back into the seminary, and I told the dean of rabbinical school at the time, Rabbi Alan Kensky, beautiful teacher of mine, who shared a story because we didn't understand the magnitude of what had happened. He said he remembered being in Israel as a rabbinical student when there was a terrorist attack, and his teacher said to his class, and he said to us, "They will never stop us from being who we are. We will learn Torah. That's who we are. That's what we do." And there, of course, is deep truth in that, and the moment defied any precedent. Though the anchored learning that we have, friends, is a very important kind of stabilizing force for each of us in our lives. Then the senior rabbinical students created an impromptu ceremony. I stood with my beloved classmate, who's now Rabbi Ari Sunshine. He and I shared a nigun, a song that, it turns out, my father-in-law wrote. I knew it then, but I wasn't yet fortunate enough to have neshama in my life. But I quoted her. The nigun was Yehi Shalom B'Chelech, Shalva B'Armenotayich, words from Psalms that I remember even then. I remember being at a concert where neshama taught a beautiful lesson that became a healing part of my own life from that point on. That the deepest prayer is when it's not just an external surface kind of peace that we pray for. May there be Yehi Shalom B'Chelech, may there be shalom in your surroundings. There also needs to be Shalva B'Armenotayich, a kind of equanimity within the deeper parts of ourselves that often are more hidden. It's been 23 years since that day. On that day, my sister, who's now Rabbi Yonina Creditor, Lieutenant Commander in the U.S. Navy, was a volunteer emergency responder. She was with a paramedic team, went down to ground zero relatively quickly, stayed down there without changing her clothes for days on end. On that day, not everybody had cell phones, and if you did, all of the wireless signals, all the data was interrupted because everybody was trying to figure out where everyone was. Because my beloved great aunt, Helen Dubin, of blessed memory, lived on Bethune Street down in the village, and no one knew if she was okay. And my grandfather in Bayside, Queens, Walter Eisenberg of blessed memory, I didn't know if he was okay. And I remember being scared to my core, as we all were. And then we all left the seminary, all of us really, looking for something to do. As soon as we could rip our eyes away from watching the same footage over and over, which for months we would do, as we began to smell the ash and the smoke from downtown. I remember going with my friend, who's now Rabbi Aaron Melman, who was a chaplain for the fire department of New York at the time, a volunteer, and has continued that great work in service to our country. I remember trying to give blood, but there were too many people lined up. I remember a notion of America that emerged where we cared about each other, where we were gentler with each other. I remember in those days, especially in New York City, I remember what it was to see kindness on the street, where patriotism wasn't something that divided us, but patriotism because we were all wounded was something that no one needed to ask about. People took care of each other. We were all hurting and we all knew it. And for some time, not a long time, we were just nicer. The idea of America became a command to be kind. People of faith came together and all prayed together. There were other impacts of 9/11 that have changed the world not only for the better, but right now what I want to focus on is where we were. Where we were and who we thought we should be. Now, this week's Torah portion, Ki Tetzei, is very much focused on memory, not only because Moses is in the middle of his very long goodbye, telling our story to us and reinforcing what we need to know. Oh, my beloved friend. My friend Deborah Alvo is here on Instagram, and her beloved, Jack, survived 9/11 in the most miraculous of ways. To see you today, my friend, I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of Jack. I am so, so grateful that he's alive. We lost so many, including my grade school classmate Andrew Zucker. I'm sure we each have names. In Ki Tetzei, what we have before us is a list of where we've been and who's attacked us and what we do in response. But I want to quote Judith Plasko, who is a phenomenally important feminist Jewish theologian, who has an essay on myjewishlearning.com about Ki Tetzei and memory. And I want to read just a little bit of it. She said, "The process of remembering brings with it an obligation to ethical discernment. Which memories do we want to affirm and further develop, and which do we want to repudiate or transform? We cannot forget the commandments to exclude Ammon, that's one of the rules in this week's Parsha, the tribe of Ammon, or blot out the memory of Amalek, which is also a command in this week's Torah portion, because their presence in the Torah reminds us of how easy it is to respond to vengeance with more vengeance, or injustice with more injustice. But we can also consciously cultivate memories that encourage us to stop the cycle of violence and domination." I'm skipping a little bit in her essay, and I recommend it very highly. I hope that you can find it and you can read it, because Judith Plasko is a very, very important voice for us. Perhaps the process, she says, of sifting through memory also can help to make sense of the last enigmatic verse of the portion that enjoins us, that tells us to blot out all memory of Amalek and yet remember at the same time. This is how she closes. How is this possible? Growing up in a Reformed congregation in the 1950s, in which women were on the bima only to light candles, I am aware of how the enormous changes in women's roles over the last half century make such memories of prior injustices difficult to believe. We blot out the memory of Amalek when we create Jewish communities in which values are now almost incredible compared to the old ones. She's using Amalek in the most metaphoric of ways. On 9/11, we didn't have to be so metaphoric. What I would bless us to think about is both where we were on that day, but also who we became the day after, with those wounded, broken, shocked, tender hearts that led us to be kind. I want us to remember how we treated emergency responders. I want us to think about what it was to believe in an America that, because of the pain we as a nation went through, we redoubled our efforts to see patriotism as a link that binds each of us to another. No one asked how you voted if you were in pain on that day. That wasn't what it was about. It was just about, are you okay? So I want to bless us to be gentle and kind, to honor those we lost, to honor those who showed up, and to believe again in a national spirit that is kind, compassionate, empathetic. Try to remember, friends, not the anger and not the later geopolitics. Just remember what it was in the immediate aftermath, to be kind, to presume that everyone's got something going on deeper than the surface, and also to remember with radical gratitude that the gift of life that we have today, we may not have tomorrow. So what do we do today to make a better tomorrow for whoever will be there? So many friends. This is a moment for memory. It's a moment for a return, perhaps, or at least the birth of a compassionate national identity. Let's be that. Let's be kind. So, I'm going to sing a nigun, a melody, and then we're going to send our hearts to the east and sing Hatikva. So with all that compassion, let's hold our hearts Let's remember. Let's pray. Let's send our hearts to the east. Kol hod balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion tzofia עוד לא עבדה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, friends.